Hello everyone, I'm Amir and you're watching the Sunny Stamir channel. Welcome to the final episode of my trip to Moscow. This is part 6. If you haven't seen the previous episodes yet, you can find them in the Moscow playlist on my channel. While the previous videos were all about Moscow's famous and hidden landmarks, this episode is a little different. Today I'll show you the everyday side of Moscow, its residential neighborhoods, ordinary streets, and places that most tourists never visit. You also get to see the different trades you can find in Moscow. After that we'll leave the capital and travel to Krasnodar, a city in the south of Russia, where I actually live. On a Russian long-distance train. Have you ever seen a Russian long-distance train? But first, it's time for breakfast, so let's go! Today I have 2 sandwiches for breakfast. One is topped with cucumber and pickled herring, and the other with cucumber and brinza. A salty white cheese. Now let's go explore Moscow. This is one of the trains you can see in Moscow. It's called the Lastochka, which means swallow in English. This railway line is part of the Moscow Central Diameters, a community rail network that connects one side of the city to the another. I've actually ridden the Lastochka before, from St. Petersburg to Vyborg. There it's used as an intercity train. But here in Moscow, it's part of the city's public transport system. It's amazing how the very same train can serve such different purposes depending on the city, don't you think? This is the kind of church you can see on the streets of Moscow. It's not a famous tourist attraction. It's simply a local church where ordinary people come to pray and attend services. This building is a typical Stalinka. A Stalinka is an apartment building constructed in the Soviet Union between 1933 and 1961 during the rule of Joseph Stalin. These buildings are known for their height ceilings, usually over 3 meters, or 10 feet, spacious apartments, and very thick brick walls. In some spaces the walls are up to 1 meter thick, providing excellent sound insulation, keeping the apartments warm in winter and giving the buildings a long lifespan of around 125 to 150 years. And this is a modern building in Moscow. Its design reminds me of a yacht. Don't you think it looks just like one? This building is also from the Soviet era, but it's not a Stalinka, it's a Khrushchevka built from brick. Look at this charming little wooden balcony attached to a stone building. I think it gives the building a lot of character. This building looks very similar to the previous one, but it's actually a different building. They were simply designed in the same architectural style. Down below you can see typical Soviet-style garages. People use them not only to park their cars, but also to store tools, spare parts, and all kinds of other belongings. We came across this fun sculpture of a pair of shoes in one of Moscow's pedestrian areas. In the same area you can also find these life-size sculptures, of people standing next to the benches. I especially like this one. Look at this cat and dog, they are so adorable. This is the kind of playground you can find here. Just look at this two little izba, a traditional Russian wooden house from fairy tales, with arms. I think there's such a fun and creative design. The sound of the bells you're hearing is real. This is the Moscow River. At the opposite bank you can see the Island of Dreams theme park. Look at these beautiful yellow water lilies growing in the Moscow River. They make the riverside even more peaceful and picturesque. This is the face of a Vityaz, a legendary medieval Russian warrior. You'll find huge highways like this all across Moscow. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them because I prefer quiet places. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? You can find modern apartment buildings like this all across Moscow. If you look closely, you'll notice that their facades are decorated with patterns inspired by traditional ancient Russian designs. We're now standing on a bridge, and from here we can watch the Moscow metro trains crossing the bridge on the other side of the road. I think it's a truly picturesque view. This and the new Moscow metro trains. Just look at the magical view of the city from this bridge. And these are the older Moscow metro trains. I think they look even more picturesque than the newer ones. This is one of the most unusual monuments in Moscow, a mermaid and the learned cat. This art object depicts the characters from the poem Ruslan and Ludmila by Alexander Pushkin, The Learned Cat and the Mermaid. The entire sculpture is made from scrap metal. This ship monument is a symbol of the Nagatinsky Zaton district, where we are right now. Look at the fluffy poplar seeds hanging from the tips of the oak cliffs. It looks magical, and on the grass it creates the impression that there is snow covering the ground. This part of non-touristic Moscow was filmed on another day during one of the first days of my trip. That's why I'm wearing such warm clothes. It was quite cold outside. Just look at this huge arch. It looks so majestic, doesn't it? We came across this cozy courtyard. It is quite in green, and I think that is very important. I feel relaxed when I walk through places like this. What about you? In Moscow you can see trains like this. Listen to how beautifully it sounds. This part of the video was also filmed on another day. More precisely, it was the evening when we went for a walk near our rented apartment to the banks of the Moscow River. On the opposite side you can see the Island of Dreams again. I talked about it in one of my previous videos. When you walk along the river in the evening, you start to feel relaxed. You admire the calm surface of the water shimmering in the last rays of sunlight. The refreshing coolness of the evening is already coming after a hot day. It feels especially wonderful when you are walking through a quite less crowded area, enjoying the silence and listening to the sound of the water, just like I am right now. Look at these ducks swimming through the water lilies. It looks so mesmerizing. There is a boat station nearby, so you can see people swimming on the river. Where their silhouettes appear like shadows in the twilight, it looks mystical and mysterious. The next scene will be from another day. It was the last day of our stay in Moscow, and you will see our way to the train station, followed by the train journey. Good morning, right now we are walking to the metro station. This is the house with roots. The uniqueness of this building comes from its unusual architectural element, intertwined through roots covering the facade. However, it is not only the unusual design of the house that attracts attention, but also the mysterious story behind its creation. To this day it remains a mystery who came up with the idea for such an unusual architectural design. We came across this cute little house of a railway crossing keeper. The keeper is responsible for the safe passage of trains and the movement of cars across the crossing. In this case, the flower bed was created by the crossing keeper herself to make the place feel more cozy. I saw her watering the flowers. Opposite the metro station we saw this church. We're in the Moscow metro now. On our way to the train station we changed to another metro line at this beautiful station. Do you like it? We arrived at the station we needed and are now going up the escalator. Since its arched ceilings is made of wooden planks, it feels like you're inside a giant barrel, doesn't it? We are leaving from Paviletsky railway station, but first we got off near the Tretьякov gallery to grab something to eat. From this point on, we're back in the touristy part of Moscow. This neighborhood reminds me of the houses in the south of France. What do you think? Look at the hats hanging on this building. It's so original, isn't it? Right now we are at the Grabri cafeteria. It is a chain of cafeterias in Moscow, and each one has its own unique theme. We ate at a different one in one of my previous videos. This one is decorated in a French style. We ordered rice with vegetables and a berry fruit drink. Everything was very delicious. By the way, Grabri translates to rake in English. We finished eating and are now walking to the train station. This tower stands right across from it, so it was designed in the same architectural style as the station. This is the same tower but from a closer view. This is Paviletsky railway station where our train journey begins. The next scene will be from aboard the train. It was raining heavily and we were in a hurry, so we didn't have time to film the inside of the station or the train from the outside. You'll see the outside of the train a little later. This is our compartment. Our train is leaving. Along the way I will show you some beautiful landscapes. But first, let's take a look at Moscow through the train window. Our train departs at around 4 p.m. today and arrives at around 7 p.m. tomorrow. We'll spend one night on board. Through the train window you can see an electrichka. It is a typical suburban commuter train. And this is the Aero Express. It runs between the city and the airport in both directions. We are traveling alongside the Moscow River. You can see it from the train window. I think it's wonderful to travel through the city by train when it's raining. Outside it's wet and cold, but inside the train it's warm and cozy. Through the train window you can see another stunning era apartment building. We suddenly spotted this unusual church through the train window. At last we've left the city behind. Now we're traveling through forest, meadows, and fields toward distant places. Just listen to the sound of the train rolling along the tracks. There is such heavy rain outside the window. I think it's wonderful to travel somewhere by train for several days. You don't have to rush anywhere. You simply sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. Through the window, the scenery is constantly changing. Cities slowly disappear behind you, giving way to forests, fields, rivers, and small villages. Every few minutes, a completely different landscape appears outside. If the weather is like today, you can also listen to the sound of the rain tapping against the window. I find it incredibly peaceful. Inside the train it's warm and cozy, while outside it's cold and wet. That constant makes the trip feel even more comfortable. One of my favorite parts of traveling by train is the rhythmic sound of the wheels rolling over the tracks. It's repetitive, calming, almost hypnotic. After a while, you stop thinking about everyday worries and simply enjoy the moment. You can look out of the window for a long time without getting bored, watching the landscapes pass by one after another. For me, train travel is not just a way to get from one place to another. It's part of the adventure itself. Sometimes the journey is just as memorable as the destination. I could happily spend days like this watching the world go by from my window. What about you? Do you enjoy long train journeys? This is the train's first stop. The weather has cleared up, so we stepped out onto the platform. That blue train is traveling to Moscow from Kyrgyzstan, a country to the east. I really like its color because it looks different from Russian trains. And this gray and red train is ours. It's a typical Russian long-distance train. The train is marked Bishkek, Moscow. Bishkek is the capital city of Kyrgyzstan. The train from Kyrgyzstan is leaving for Moscow. Let's wave goodbye to it. An electric locomotive also passed through the station. It usually pulls passenger or freight cars, but this time it was traveling on its own. The stop is over and we are continuing our journey south. Look at how beautifully the light of the setting sun illuminates the fields. I think sunset is one of the best times to travel by train. During the day the scenery is beautiful, but in the evening everything becomes softer and calmer. The golden light of the setting sun paints the fields, forests, and small villages in warm colors. Even ordinary landscapes begin to look magical. As the sun slowly sinks below the horizon, the world outside the window becomes quieter. The busy day comes to an end, and it feels as if nature itself is preparing to rest. Inside the train, it's warm and peaceful, while outside the last rays of sunlight stretch across the fields. You can simply sit by the window, watch the changing colors of the sky, and forget about everything else for a while. I also like that every sunset is different. Sometimes the sky turns bright orange and red, and other times it's covered with soft pink and purple clouds. You never know what you'll see next. Now evening has fallen and it's time to get some sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Good morning, a new day has begun. We are already in the southern part of the country. Just look at how much the landscape has changed. Now I'd like to share some interesting facts about railways and trains. Did you know that train numbers in Russia are not assignated randomly? Trains with odd numbers usually travel south or west, while trains with even numbers travel north or east on their return journeys. When the railway between St. Petersburg and Moscow first opened, travel was free for the first 3 days. The reason was simple. Many people were afraid of this new invention and didn't trust the terrifying machine. The longest freight train ever operated in Russia was 6.5 kilometers, 4 miles long. It consisted of 44 freight cars and regularly transported 42,000 tons of coal from Ekibastus to the Ural Mountains during the Soviet era. On the other side of the world, in South Africa, an even longer train set a record in 1989. It stretches for 7.3 kilometers, 4.5 miles, and included 660 freight cars. However, the experiment was never repeated because the railway tracks couldn't withstand such an enormous train. The first railway in Russia was not built for passengers at all. It was a 2-kilometer-long horse-drawn freight railway built at the Kolyvan factory in the Ural region. Finally, here's one more interesting fact. Railway track inspectors are often required to have a good musician ear. They check the train wheels by tapping them with a hammer and listening carefully. A change in the sound can reveal a hidden defect long before it becomes dangerous. This luggage rack is where you can store your bags and suitcases. Look at the beautiful river we're traveling alongside. I really enjoy traveling across bodies of water during a journey. What about you? And this large river is the Don River. Look at this beautiful field of golden wheat. At dusk we approached Krasnodar. However, when we got off the train at the platform, there was a strong thunderstorm, so unfortunately we couldn't film anything. This is the train corridor, and the compartments are on the right side. I enjoy leaving the compartment, standing by the window in the corridor, and watching the world go by outside. The next scenes will be filmed the following day in Krasnodar. It's the height of summer in Krasnodar. Everything is in bloom and the grass is full of vibrant colors. It's hot and the air is fresh and clean. These white flowers surrounded by so many bees are white lavender. I think the shot turned out incredibly beautiful. The bees make it feel even more alive. Look at this beautiful row of blooming palm shrubs stretching into the distance along the road. It looks magical, doesn't it? I love scenes like this because they make even an ordinary street feel special. The endless line of vibrant green leaves and bright flowers creates a wonderful sense of depth, drawing your eyes farther and farther into the distance. It almost feels as if the road has no end. The warm summer sunshine, the rich colors of the plants, and the peaceful atmosphere all come together to create a picture that is both relaxing and beautiful. Just look at this tree. Its leaf is several times larger than my hand. That's amazing, isn't it? This is a princess tree, also known as empress tree, Palomia tomentosa. Here are some fascinating facts about it. The tree is famous for its incredibly fast growth. A young Paulownia can grow 2 to 3 meters, 6.5 to 10 feet, in just 1 year, making it one of the fastest growing trees in the world. Its scientific name Paulownia was given in honor of Anna Pavlovna, the daughter of Emperor Paul I of Russia, and later the Queen of the Netherlands. In East Asia, this tree has been admired for more than 2,600 years. In Japan, it is called kiri, which means life. According to an ancient legend, the mythical phoenix would only land on the branches of a Paulownia tree, so people planted it near their homes to bring good luck and prosperity. The leaves are just as impressive as the tree itself. During the first year of growth, their soft, heart-shaped leaves can reach 50 to 85 centimeters, 20 to 33 inches across. Paulownia is also famous for its remarkable ability to regenerate. Even if the trunk is cut down, its powerful root system quickly produces a new tree. This is the silk tree, also known as Persian silk tree, Albizia julibrissin. Because it belongs to the same family of acacias, many people simply call it the silk acacia. It grows mainly in warm southern regions, so for both my mom and me, this tree has become a symbol of the South. Can you see the ladybug? These flowers look like sunflowers, but they're actually false sunflowers, Heliops heliolymphoids. The wild species originally came from the eastern and central regions of North America, where they grow naturally in prairies and along forest edges. They begin blooming in the middle of summer and can continue flowering until the first frosts in October, covering gardens with bright golden blossoms for almost 3 to 4 months. These have been wonderful days, but our video is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. In this video, we began by exploring the non-touristic side of Moscow and visited the famous house with roots. Then we made our way to the railway station and boarded a long-distance train to Krasnodar. Along the journey, we listened to the relaxing sound of the train wheels and admired the beautiful landscapes passing by outside the window. Finally, we ended our trip by enjoying the colorful flowers and vibrant summer scenery in Krasnodar. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below. I always enjoy reading your thoughts and hearing from you. My next video will be about celebrating my birthday, but it's a story for another time. And one more thing, stay curious. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!